Greetings, salutations, respect, and love, little kitties. Oh, I've got a good one for you today here on the Prog Corner. If you're new here, my name is Scott. I will be your host, but if not, hey, I just cracked 14,000 subscribers, so thank you to all my returning viewers. Outstanding, you guys are the very best. And today, oh man, we welcome back the one, the only Mark Anthony K, better known as the mastermind behind Projekt Gemineye. Mark, it's been a long time. Where have you been hiding?
Hey, Scott, nice to be back to your channel. I've not been hiding. I've been doing a lot of recording and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, you know, when you said you're going to talk about my catalog, you know, there's a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we got some stuff to go through for sure. Yeah. I've only got 4 CDs of yours. So we're going to go through the whole thing. But I've got this one, part 3, and then that one. So there's a whole lot more that I haven't heard or even seen. So this is going to be a whole lot of fun. And Mark, I thought you were mad at me.
Mad at you? Why would I be?
I did. Well, you know how it goes on those live streams. We get all those people on, and everybody's got an opinion and whatnot. You always seem to have one of the saucier opinions. One of the, you know, I can always count on you for a hot take, and so I do miss you on our Sunday live streams. But I think this is better, so we can kind of just focus on Projekt Gemineye today. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to baby Mark Anthony when he was just a little kid growing up. What was the music that got your little ears perked up that maybe was a harbinger of things to come?
Oh, I remember it exactly. Well, when I was young, we used to live in this apartment building here, just down the road. And, you know, when you live in an apartment building, there's a lot of different people in the building. And my older sister, I have an older sister named Jane. She's 7 years older than me. So she introduced me to a lot of music. And the big thing in the apartment building...
Older siblings are great, right? I had an older brother and an older sister. Man, they turned me on to so much stuff. So
So she turned me on to Kiss right out the back. All the people that they were listening to that had Kiss, like all these guys that she used to hang out with. They had the jean jacket with the patches on the back, and you know they had Alive 2 plastered on their wall in the bedrooms and stuff like that, right? So that was my early introduction. But the most impactful thing that happened to me was my sister. She had a turntable in her bedroom. And I would sneak in there sometimes and listen to records. And one night she went out with her friends and she left her turntable there with the headphones on. And I turned it on and dropped the needle and was like, wow, what is this? And it was Exit Stage Left from Rush.
Oh my.
And that was my introduction to Rush. And I was like just blown away. And ever since then, Rush has become my favorite band of all time, period. Bottom line, Rush to me is like here, and everybody else kind of just trickles down underneath, right?
Well, there's not many bands that can say they put out 19 albums, and all 19 are good, man. I mean, some are certainly better than others, Vapor Trails, and, you know, there's a couple ones that certainly aren't at the, you know, the peak, but man, oh man, 19 for 19, you can't do much better than that.
And their manager has said too, and I remember this quote that's very impactful, I thought, was that they said Rush is the only band that he knows that has released an album and toured every release they've ever put out. So that's something that you know most bands have never can't say.
I didn't think about that. It's true, didn't they? They did a tour for every release. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that was the introduction to it. And then, of course, the introduction to playing guitar was another thing, because one night we moved into a house. Finally, we got a house. And when we moved, they put some of the stuff in the basement, you know, away in the storage area. And I discovered this guitar case, opened it up, and I was like, wow, it was a copy Les Paul. But back in those days, these Japanese copies were like almost pinpoint identical to
before the Epiphones and stuff that the world came along.
So I found it. I was instantly hooked on it. I found out they had a little tacky 1968 Mel Bay instruction.
Oh, yeah. Got to learn from Mel Bay. I think everybody learned from Mel Bay.
So I started with that, you know, one string at a time, learning everything. And then, you know, I ended up, you know, discovering Black Sabbath, you know, started, you know, getting into some of the earlier sort of things to learn, right? And then, you know, tried doing the Rush stuff, and then it can just progress from there. And then, of course, I got introduced to Paul Gilbert, you know, and his intense sequences VHS videotape, and I locked myself away for 9 months. No word of a lie, in my bedroom. My parents thought I was going insane or something.
Yeah,
just 6 hours a day learning that stuff, and until I was finally satisfied with my lead playing. So it was an interesting journey.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you could find worse tutors than Paul Gilbert, right? Tom,
Exactly.
the good old Tony Iommi and good old Mel Bay, man. I
Yes,
remember going through
exactly.
those Mel Bay books as a little kid. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
think that everybody found a guitar and you opened it up and there was Mel Bay in that guitar case, all tattered, and lay
Oh,
your
yeah.
head down, Tom Dooley. Oh yeah, man. So guitar was your first instrument then?
Yeah, guitar was my first instrument and was for the longest time. I never started playing other instruments until we started doing 4-track recordings. Like when I made my first band, we discovered the good old 4-track machine.
Oh
Right?
yeah, that Tascam 4-track. Oh yeah, those were the days.
So we grabbed one, started doing it, and then one night, our bass player, he lived a ways away from us. Our first bass player, he lived like 40 minutes drive from where we were, so he wasn't there all the time. So of course, when you don't have the guy there, you either wait for him or somebody else picks up the slack. So I, said it can't be that hard to play bass. So I started playing it and developed, my bass playing over the years. And then I got into keyboards and stuff like that. As you can see here, I got my Gaia and my EX7 keyboard there, and behind me I even have a keyboard right there, back of me.
You're surrounded by gear.
It's very, very Wakeman-ish in that sense.
Nice.
I have another keyboard over
Where's
there.
your cape?
Yeah, I don't have one yet, but I'm looking into a decent Projekt Gemineye cape. That'd be awesome to get one of those.
Now, did you learn how to play drums? Because I know when I got that Tascam, the first thing I realized was, okay, I can play every instrument, I can sing. I can't drum, and I hate Faco drums, so the Tascam kind of forced me to learn how to drum.
The drumming thing was never a problem because my drummer guy was always here. Like he lived like literally 5-10 minutes from where I live, so we never had a problem with the drums. But we had the Alesis HR16 drum machine for those times when he wasn't around and stuff. And then nowadays you have such fantastic stuff now, like Superior Drummer and stuff like that you can you can do some drum tracks. And I have done stuff where people don't even have a clue that it wasn't a drummer.
Things have gone so far, Mark. I mean, I was always a proponent of if it's going to be fake drums, I want to know it's fake. Right? Yeah. Don't try to fake me out. Don't try to make them feel real. But the technology now is such that my favorite album of 2022 had no drums. It was all Faco drums. Ben Craven's Monsters of the Id. All programmed drums, all programmed, orchestration. You can get a whole orchestra on your album and not even hire an orchestra. The technology's so good now.
Well, the thing that people don't realize, or maybe don't realize, is that on these Superior Drummer programs, it's not like how you think of fake drums, where it's like do 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 do. It's like these are performed by actual real drummers, right? Like they had people, like actual drummers that go on there and perform stuff, and they actually get these guys to do like 17 drum fills in this style, 50 drum fills in this style. They do a rhythm, like do a verse section and 7 variations of this kind of a verse part or in the pre-chorus. So you have so many different files and them doing so many different variations of it. And when you take them and you say, okay, I want this verse with this style of chorus and this pre-chorus, I'm going to insert this drum. It's a lot of work to do it, right? But when you do it properly, man, it sounds like a fantastic drum performance, and really only the most astute ears, I think, can really pick out when it's, not a real drummer. But to me, I never say it's not a real drummer because it is a real drummer playing it, That recording is actually him playing. It's it's almost like taking samples and putting it, into a song and interconnecting samples rather than just MIDI notation, right?
And I don't think as fans of progressive rock, we should ever have any problem or aversion to new technology that's coming up. I hear a lot of my brethren scared to death of this little thing called AI. I guess they're worried that some computer's going to write close to the edge one day. It's not going to happen, people. I mean, AI has its place, and it's certainly getting more powerful and more useful, but, the human spirit is what makes music interesting. It's not computers. It's never been computers.
Exactly. That's always the thing that's going to separate it. Sure, an AI thing can maybe go and listen to Close to the Edge and separate the bass track out of it and maybe take out the drum track and this and that. But it'll never be able to come close to recreating, the crazy lyrical content of John Anderson or the crazy bass playing of Chris Squire or the fantastic drumming of Bruford. Like, those things you need the heart and the soul to do that.
That's right. And a computer could not come up with Chris Squire's bass line.
No.
I mean, Bill Bruford was once asked what the highlight of Yes Music was, and he said when Bill Bruford said that Chris Squire's bass line in Close to the Edge, that second verse, when they change it up, and his bass kind of is so low. Bill Bruford said it reminded him of a tuba. And he's like, when Chris Squire's bass is sounding like a tuba, I knew there was nowhere else to go with this band. He's like, I knew that was it. That's the cookie. We can't progress any further. And it's hard to argue with that, really. But again, a computer wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely. I don't think we have to be too fearful of that.
I don't either. I think people are, everybody wants something to be worried about. Oh my God, Trump this, or oh my God, that. Relax. Prog rock will solve all your problems. I've always felt that. Now you're a young buck. You've learned your trade and you've gotten some experience playing around with that 4-track and whatnot. What was the next step? Did you actually go and get a real job and stuff, or did you really try to do the music thing?
Well, when I was young, at around 16, I had a part-time job at my dad's company. He had a little business where he was making these sort of machinery for plastic molding, and I won't bore you with all that stuff, but I was
let's talk about all our old jobs.
Yeah. So basically I had enough money from that where I was able to start buying, gear. I bought my first Marshall half stack and stuff like that from it. And the job to me always seemed just like a means to an end. I wanted to get out of doing work and playing music, right?
And that's something that I remember my first job, man. What was I working for? I was working for that Marshall with the 100-watt head with the 412 cab. Absolutely, that's what I was working for.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I did there. And then also the big thing, too, was that we wanted to desperately get in and record. So at 16, me and my bandmates got together enough money to go in on a weekend at the local recording studio there called Studio A. And we went in and recorded 4 songs on a weekend. And we thought that we were the kings of the world. We were so excited going into an actual studio and doing it. And then that spawned everything because my love of recording started from that and wanting to have my own little studio and stuff like that. But that was it. I mean, recording. We started playing, and then later on it became more serious. When that band kind of folded, I started another band immediately. And in my early 20s, I put together a band called Reckon with One. And we actually did pretty good. We toured Canada 3-4 times. We released 3 albums on CD. And it was great. I mean, and the band prior to that, I was in sort of like a hard rock, glam rock thing. It was kind of like Poison meets this Warrant, but a little heavier, right? And we got invited to play a festival in Portugal in the Azore Islands. So that was my first taste of festival, performance, and that was great.
Do you remember who else was on that bill in the Azores? Was there anybody there?
I know a lot of the stuff were a lot of. I'm trying to remember. I can't really remember. There were not any bands that I can remember off the top of my head. A lot of them are local bands, right? But the thing was, they also had jazz nights there too. So I know that they had some contemporary jazz people that were more popular. They're on AMI records and stuff like that came there. So the metal hard rock night was probably more local guys and a few bands from around the area. We were the big kind of, who are they? Because we were from Canada, right? So, but that was a young guy. I was just turned 19 when we went there to do that. And you get picked up by airplane. We go across the ocean on airplane. You get picked up by a van. You had your own driver. They brought you to we had our own house. Everything was comped. You didn't have to pay for anything. And an open bar with 19-year-olds was not a good idea.
Yeah, horrible idea. With a set to play the next day.
We were trashed most of the time here, but it was fun. It was a good experience,
Yeah. And then somehow, some way, we circled back to Projekt Gemineye. How did this whole thing start? Was this something you'd been thinking about for a while? or was this you just woke up one morning and said, you know what, I'm going head first with the Gemini project? Tell me about the origin of it.
Well, basically, what ended up happening is after Reckon with One folded, and I'll do this quickly so we can get to this. I ended up getting a call to audition for Pile Driver, which was that '80s thrash metal band,
Yeah.
and I got the gig along with my other drummer guy who was in my band with me as well. We both got hired, and that was a great time. We went and toured Europe.
Hey, I auditioned with Metallica.
Really?
It didn't go well.
Okay.
It
Well,
didn't go well.
So, but we ended up going and we did a tour in there. We did a couple of, we did an actual record for him and stuff like that. So it was good. And then once that was done and we were out, a few months after that happened, I broke my leg. I broke my femur in my leg, and I don't
Ouch.
suggest that for anybody to happen because it's the hardest bone in the body to break, and
It's the
really
biggest
hurts.
bone, and it's got the most nerve endings.
Yeah, it
As I'm
hurt.
sure you found out.
Yeah, and the whole street heard it pretty much when it broke. So I was in hospital for 4 months because they had to surgically repair it, 8 screws, everything, and I had to relearn to walk again because I was bedridden for so long because of it. But then while I was there, I finally said to myself, you know what? I want to do this project. I don't want to have any other musicians because I was getting so tired of, because I had another band kind of going before this happened. And I was so tired of waiting for people. Oh, I can't do it today because I have my 7th cousin's, bar mitzvah to go to, or this and that. There's always something that was coming up. It's always delaying something. So I said, forget it. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm even going to sing on my own records and everything. And then I imagined all this stuff up in hospital, on pieces of paper while I was sitting there. And then when I was done, I came home. I had my little studio set up, which I've expanded on, obviously. And I started recording. And the first thing that
had you sung before?
Oh, yeah.
Was that new? Okay.
Well, I've sung, but never in a lead position. I was always like backing vocals or I did harmonies. So it's not like I've never sung before, but I was never a lead singer in a band.
Yeah.
I was very content on being just a guitar player at that time, right? But this needed me to be the vocalist as well because I didn't want to wait for anybody anymore. So I got up and recorded this album.
Here we go. Look at that.
The first one, An Ordinary Day. And this album was the start of everything, obviously. That hype sticker was written, the line was there from Martin Popoff. He did a little comment there.
Thank you, Martin. We love Martin Popoff. And
one of my big things that I wanted to do right from the very get-go here is that since I was a big Kiss fan, I always wanted to do something with to give back to the people who supported my projects. So there's the back of it. I'd always sign them there, and I always numbered them, right? Number 1. Every album also had a poster that came with it that was done by James McCarthy, okay, and was signed. So every record came with a poster.
Now, has James done all your artwork?
He's done every single one of them. He is my Roger Dean.
He's awesome. He's instantly recognizable, right?
Yeah.
Immediately it's a Projekt Gemineye joint just by his artwork. It's awesome stuff.
This is a little insert. These little artwork pieces are just mine that I did in hospital. I was just because I was doodling and I just didn't know what to do with my time, so I just doodled with stuff. So that I just put that in as little art.
So that's the debut album?
Yeah, and this was a big thing for me, and I always yelled and screamed in my usual way on my own videos about this, is I always made sure that I had poly-lined inner sleeves. Yes. I hate these albums that come out with just paper sleeves.
Preach.
Right? Yeah.
Preach. We don't like that at all, man. And don't ship your records with the inner sleeve and the vinyl inside. Man, just stick them outside. It's not hard. It takes 2 seconds. Why don't they all do that?
Well, most people don't like that. I know a lot of people want to be the ones that open the shrink wrap and stuff like that. So,
I guess so.
If they tell me to take it out, I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But I always say that, I go, please tell me if you want me to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it in. So, so that's the debut. Okay.
Okay. Now, is that still available?
Now, this album is only available on CD.
Okay. I want to keep that going for all these releases so that I'll put the link in the video description. So if anything tickles you little kiddies fancies, you can click on that link, go to Mark's website, buy yourself some Projekt Gemini merchandise. What's next?
Now, this album is the companion to the one I just showed you. This is a brand new date, right? Basically, these two records combine talk about the day I broke my leg. It's in story form, but the thing is, I had to kind of bust up the story a la The Elder because it didn't
back to the Kiss references.
Yeah, because it didn't fit sequential wise for a vinyl release, so I had to kind of make the running order fit.
So you actually think about that when you're putting a record together. You actually think about. I mean, for years, artists forgot about the vinyl format, right? They were just thinking, we've got 80 minutes to fill a CD, and it doesn't matter how we do it. Nowadays, you kind of got to think about that vinyl again, don't you?
I have been a person talking about this a lot on my own channel, too, which is that I don't like that idea of the 80 minutes. Just because you have 80 minutes doesn't mean you should use it. I think people start checking out after about 40 minutes. So I've never made my records more than like 41, 42 minutes. The most I think I've ever put out. So this record again too, I think this is 39 minutes long, this album.
Perfect length.
Six songs on there.
Perfect length. That way you can focus on all 40 minutes, right?
Exactly.
If you got an 80-minute record, you're only giving half the time to each track. Make it a 40-minute record and you can double how much time you spend writing, arranging, and mixing it. Fantastic. I just hated the fact that back in the late 80s, all the way through the 90s and the early aughts, every album was a double album, basically. There was no such thing as a double album because consumers, artists, labels, everybody was pushing the envelope. You had to fill up that CD, and it was always crap. Yeah. Beautiful. Look at that. Very, very nice.
Purple. Now I'm gonna go run through them quickly. That's
all right, man. This is your show. I want to honor and celebrate the Projekt Gemini discography today, leading up to, and we haven't even talked about it. Talk about burying the lead. We're on minute number 22. We haven't even mentioned the new album yet, but just carry on.
We will. And I'll get to it quickly, I promise you.
That's all right. This
is the third album called Man of Science, Man of Dreams. This is a sort of a homage to my father. He was a science guy. He liked tinkering and doing stuff in the basement. And I think James McCarthy got that idea perfectly in this image of a man sitting there by the fire thinking of all kinds of crazy things. The back cover was done by a gentleman named Jason Paulin out of Wales. Great guy, big Kiss fan, big Yes listener, listens to the Yes podcast. So he was the one who started doing these back graphics and the inner booklets that would come later.
What is that image supposed to be on the back of that? That looks like Christopher Columbus or something.
Yeah, it's one of these like discover guys that go across oceans, right?
Cool.
And this is a James McCarthy image that came with the album as well.
Suitable for framing.
Yes, and I have a few people. One gentleman by the name of Preston Fraser, he's a podcaster as well, who said that he has always framed every single one of my posters that I put out. This is the last of the sort of paper, well, not paper, but single sheet inserts.
Right.
For the record, we go to a proper booklet after this, and again, I'm going to show you the vinyl because you're gonna get a real kick out of this. I promise you. When we get to the next record as well. So this one here, and now you'll notice the center labels are also much more professionally looking because Jason started doing those.
There we go. Labels. Yeah. Pay attention to the label, all you small label owners out there. It's important, man. Just think about it. Who thought back in 1971 anyone would care about the Vertigo swirl? Yeah, no one thought that would be a thing. It's a thing. It's gonna be a thing. So I love the way you're thinking, Mark.
Yeah. So the big thing is, I run my own little small label, and it was mainly for the longest time just my stuff on it. Obviously, I did end up signing another guy, Joe Bailey. He's on the label as well. We also do the Dark Monarchy together, but I put out his solo stuff. Okay, so that's green vinyl. But running the label, you have to start thinking about these things. What are people going to like? What people would want when they're released? This is extremely rare. Okay. This was a what's called a lathe cut record. Okay. It was only 6 of them made. Okay, it's pretty much exactly like a record. The people who have bought it said that they sound as good as their own. They have like a couple of mobile fidelity records. They said it sounds just as good as those, which I was shocked because I never would have thought that they would have compared it to that. But what this was a one-time release, and I put a little one sheet in here for this as well, where it explains what's going on here. Basically, it's the tracks that were left off of Man of Science, Man of Dreams. There was a little EP called The Lost Science Files. And over here, on Record Store Day back in, I think it was 2019 or whatever it was around that time, I put out a single for Record Store Day. But those things were never put out on physical media, right? Those are just digital. So this is the only version of it where you can get those songs that are there on a physical media. And these things went, like, when I posted it that they were going to be available, within 15 minutes, all of them are gone. Like, boom.
You know how those freaks are in the vinyl community, man. You tell them lathe cut or mobile fidelity or any of those buzzwords, 180 gram, they just go freak out like it means something. But yeah, I guess it means something to somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, sonically, I'll admit it sounds fantastic.
I bet.
If you're one of these people who have, great stereo systems, it sounds good. And the lucky thing is, and I always wanted to emphasize this, is that I wanted to make sure that my record sounded good for the people that have even just average record players, because there's more of them than there are people who have $50,000 record players. That's for damn
Guess
sure.
what system I play?
But
I rock the Crosley, sir. Yeah. I proudly rock the Crosley. Because honestly, if I've got like $1,000 to spend, that's going for vinyl. It's not going for a turntable or for an amp or for speakers. I just can't wrap my mind around spending a bunch of money on a system. That's money I'm not spending on vinyl. I can't have that.
That's true. This record here, which is one of them that you have.
There we go. Now we're getting to the stuff I know. That's a great album.
Now this one was very important because this introduced the first time I got somebody in to do a recording with me. Joe Bailey did the vocals on a couple of the songs, and one of my good friends, David Donnelly, who's a very well-known, respected session player in England. He's been involved with, Tony Visconti and with the guys from Bowie's stuff, and he's been involved with Glenn Matlock from Sex Pistols. So he's involved with a lot of people. He played bass on one of the songs on here, so that helped out a lot with getting eyes on it. So this is the first album with a proper booklet. Now, one thing you'll notice too, you have the CD. The vinyl and CDs will always have a variation and differences between their insides, like how they look and stuff like that, right? So this one was done a bit different. And that's one of the things that I wanted to give people is that, if I'm going to buy the vinyl as well, at least there's something different to look forward to in it, right? This one comes with a really cool poster that Jason Pollan did with it as well, but that's exclusive to the vinyl. Here you got the poster for it. Earth 3073. And also what came with this, which was really what people really enjoyed, was the download card was actually like a plane ticket.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
As well. So that
this is my favorite album of yours that I've heard so far. The opening track on this is so good. What's it called? Let Your Spirit Fly or something. Dynamite.
I love that song. To this day, it's one of my favorite songs I've written.
Heck yeah. Now, availability on In the Year 3073, Book 1. Is the CD still available for people?
The CD is still available. Vinyl is gone.
Yeah.
The vinyl, I can tell you right now, I'll show every record really quickly here, but the only record that's available on vinyl is the one that I'm still now waiting for, the Canada one.
The new one.
Yeah, the newest one. And the one before it, What's on Your Mind. That's the only one that are available on vinyl. This was a Record Store Day release of the leftover songs from the first 2 albums. I did a remix of them as well, right? And that came out as well.
What's that, 2 tracks on there, Mark?
2 tracks on each side, right?
Oh, 4 total.
And it comes with a little insert talking about it.
Nice.
There's also like album notes here. and talks about like some of the creations.
And you're not looking to rip people off with pricing or shipping or anything. You're gonna be a square, straight up guy and not rip anybody off. So anybody stateside or over in Europe that they want to get their hands on your product, it's not going to be too pricey for them, right? You're a good guy.
No, well, let me tell you this: I'm the only guy that I know that still sells his records in Canadian dollars. Okay, and I haven't moved my price since I've started. The very first record I put on vinyl was $30 Canadian plus shipping. Okay, and usually the shipping is like between $20 to $25. Okay,
right.
Now if you're in US, that's nothing. That's like a $30 Canadian is like what, like $20 US probably, if that, right? So I got a lot of US people buying my stuff because it's the exchange is so good, you know.
Yeah.
And I've never had a return of a record. I've never had a complaint.
Really?
Never had a return.
Where are you pressing?
At Train Records here in Mississauga. They've done a lot of stuff. They've done Rush's Feedback on vinyl. They've done a couple Tragically Hip records. They've started really branching out. So they're a great pressing plant.
Clearly, if you haven't had a single return, I mean, usually you'll get one, you know, the hole's off center, you know, there's always something that people complain about.
The only thing that I've had happen was one of my supporters messaged me and said, do you think it's possible to get another copy of the vinyl? I go, I think I had, this is early on when it was selling. I go, yeah, I think I have a couple left. He goes, and he showed me a picture. He goes, my mailman was an idiot. Broke the record and snapped it into.
Had to put it in the mailbox, right? Yeah. You had to fold it in half to get it in the mailbox. That's what you do with vinyl, right?
Unbelievable. So this is book 2. And if you notice in the hype sticker, this is a very big record for me. I had Joe Bailey on here, David Donnelly. I also had Lee Pomeroy on bass.
Oh, yeah.
And Billy Sherwood played on bass.
You know, that's kind of cool because we had competing yeses out there back with ARW and Steve Howe's version.
Yeah.
And you had Lee playing bass for one version. You had Billy playing bass for the other version. You've got all your yes bases covered on this one.
Oh, yeah. That was the one advantage. The one advantage of being on the Yes Music podcast is that I got contact with these people and was able to ask them to get involved, and they were great. Lee Pomeroy was fantastic.
I bet. I've never met Lee, but I've met Billy a couple times. Billy's awesome.
Yeah, they're great guys. I'll probably work with them again in the future. This one came with a really cool poster here.
Yeah.
Things aren't always as they appear.
Nice.
Right? Book 2.
Nice.
And you know, and I'm showing this because I want people to get to realize that, again, I want to give people that little bit of extra, you know, for their cash. And this one,
absolutely, man, vinyl ain't cheap. You got to give people their money's worth. Oh, look at that.
There's your download card. Right,
that's cool. That's even cooler than the ticket.
Exactly.
I like that.
Now, this one came on this is a fan voted idea of what color. They voted on teal. And that's this one here. And as you can see, you know, the colored vinyl thing. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you for showing that as well. Because again, there's a difference in the appearance of the vinyl to the CD. So, and I've had a lot of people that have bought both. And in fact, there's one gentleman in Canada who always buys multiple copies of CD. One he keeps in the shrink, the other one he listens to, obviously. And I've just the other day, I got a gentleman who messaged and ordered 3 vinyl copies of the latest album, and he lives in South Korea. So this guy's been buying multiple copies as well.
Nice.
So after this came another record store day thing that I did, which was a special record store day edition of the debut album. Oh. And this was done on lathe cut as well. So one of those specialty sort of records. This is the quickest thing that I ever put out. I put out 10 and it was literally done within 20 minutes because so many people missed the first album.
Yeah.
As soon as I said go, it was like, you're sold out. I was like, holy shit. You know,
nice.
Now we're getting to near the end here. This is book 3. Okay. This, again, was a very fun record to make. A slightly heavier record than the other 2, right? But I think it turned out great. Here's the booklet for it.
Nice.
The back has a totally different image. There's the pilots that go
It's
out.
worth it just for the booklet, right? Even just for the artwork alone, even if you never play it. Yeah, I mean, you're giving people value. And you mentioned something about your friend in South Korea buying multiple copies. You ever think about back in the day? I think about it all the time, like back in the day in the 70s when I was buying all those records. I wish I would have bought two of everything, right? Two of everything, one to play, one to put away in storage, and don't even look at it for 50 years.
Exactly.
Nice.
And this is just a graphic of showing what was out at the time, singles and EPs and stuff. Here is the download card, which is a in memoriam sort of thing that I did in there. And again, a colored vinyl in here, which is really quickly to show that here.
And I like that the download cards are a little bigger. A lot of times you get a download card and it's like a business card.
Yeah.
Right? Just like this tiny little thing. It's getting thrown away, man. I'm never going to use that. I'm going to lose that.
Yeah, a lot of people use those bigger ones that I've done as bookmarks.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What is that? Root beer?
This is root beer colored vinyl that was voted on by the people. So if you join my Projekt Gemineye Facebook group, a lot of the times the moderator there who helps me out, Porters of the band, he runs it for me. He'll do a lot of these different polls where he'll say, "Okay, vinyl's coming up. What color do you think this record should be?"
Nice.
And people vote on it. And root beer was one of the ones that were voted on this time for this one, and turned out very nice. That's another thing that I'm very pleased about Train Records is that they've never ever given me an issue with any color that I've asked for. They've always said yes, sir, thank you, sir, and that was it, right? So we're at the home stretch, and now this one's important to talk about. You have this one on CD, which is What Lies Beyond.
I do.
Okay? And this is the back of this one. Okay, I think it might be a little different. The back of yours there to this one.
Yeah,
slightly. This one has, of course, the booklet in here. I really like this one. How Jason did this booklet for this one. It's very cool with the planets there, and how it's kind of very very trippy. What Lies Beyond.
Cool. On the CD, you get the little Matrix thing.
Yep.
You're in the Matrix, Mark.
There's a booklet inside there, too.
This is all just a simulation.
Yes.
Oh, there's the booklet.
Yeah.
It's hiding. Okay, I got a booklet.
Yeah. And this one has a poster as well that you can get for it as well. Now, this is the part that I was waiting to tell you about, that you might laugh at this. Okay. So this one here, this is the first one and only one I think that I did that didn't have a download card in it because I didn't do any extra tracks for this one. But this one came on red vinyl. Okay. I was the one who decided on the color for this one because I desperately wanted this one, and for a reason. Because if you notice, the first album was blue.
Yeah.
Then there was a purple was a second. The third one was a green.
Yeah.
And this eighth album, or seventh album, was red. So now my dream had come true of doing one record at least in the Kiss solo color album. Gene.
I knew we were going somewhere.
Yeah,
it's blue, the Kiss solo album colorway.
Yeah, I wanted to have those colors on my records. So all of them are there. Paul's purple one, the Catman's green, right? So.
But everybody knows Ace's album was the best of the four.
Yeah, I with me, I go back and forth between Paul and him. But
Paul's is good too, man. Paul's is no slouch, but that Ace solo album is,
And here's the last one before we quickly talk about the Canada one. This is what's on your mind. I will send you this one so you're not out of the loop here with this as well. This is a violet vinyl here, so sort of a close to the purple, but this is the other one was translucent. This is a solid purple color, right? I like the way that he did the sort of maze graphic in there. So this one and this record is the one that's still available on vinyl.
Okay.
So I think there's only like 15 copies left of this one. There's the booklet with me on the front. If you open this one, it has a summary of all the records in there.
Oh, nice. I love that. Awesome.
There. So Yeah. So this album, it has an insert. I think I must have took it out of this one, but it's like a little poster that hypes the album. I think I should have grabbed it. Sorry, I don't have it on hand here, but it comes with an insert as well. And last but not least is Canada.
Here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. Yes, yes,
So
yes,
there's
yes.
the CD.
Canada Stories and Legends.
Yes. There's the back cover. Okay. So we have, 3-song, one huge epic, song 4, 12 minutes long. The inside photos and stuff that were done by Jason are fantastic on this album. Absolutely over the moon happy with it. And I love the sort of totem pole imagery for the CD there.
Yeah.
Right? And really quickly, here's the booklet that comes with it.
So what do you got? 5 or 6 tracks on the new one? Mark?
There's five tracks on here.
5 tracks.
So The Lost Generation, Drive North, This Promised Land, Racing the Flames, and Ghost Ships.
So Racing the Flames is the one I've already got circled. That's the long one.
Yes.
You know I love the long ones.
Now, just so you know, basically, this is my sort of a tip of the hat to my country that I live in, Canada. Right?
Finally, too. We need some Canada nationalism to offset some of the vitriol coming from south of the border, right?
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure that I did on this record and I think the American people understood that when I was talking about this and promoting it beforehand, was that this wasn't just a tap on the back for Canada. I do point out some errors that Canada has made throughout their existence as well.
Yeah.
The Lost
you were no better to the First Nation than we were to our Indigenous people. So yeah, Canada's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
No
the Lost Generation is in fact about that, about the Indigenous people, those schools that they were sent to. Right. Drive North talks about the gold rush that happened in the 1900s. Right. This Promised Life is a sort of a short story about a group of a family that came from Africa over here and that were promised a better life here, but then ended up having to sleep in a basement in a church for 2 months, then got booted out onto the streets and lived on the streets for 4 months before they actually ended up getting proper housing. So my tip of that was, if the government's going to bring people over, at least be prepared for them so they don't have to go through that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Racing the Flames was, of course, about the forest fires that afflicted Canada. And, of course, more recently, LA. So that was kind of timely that fit in. And Ghost Stories was one of those legendary stories that I heard when I was on the East Coast about the schooner ship that would burst into flames on the water, sink, only to appear the next night again, brand new and fresh, floating down the river again, and then burst into flames and sink again, and it would keep happening. So it was like a proper ghost story from the East Coast. Yeah.
Nice. Groundhog Day, ghost ship Nova Scotia style.
Yes. So this is available on CD. Right now I have it available for $5. $5 you can buy
$5, people. Look at that artwork. Yeah. It's Projekt Gemineye, so the music is quality stuff. Absolutely. Brand new album, Canada, Stories and Legends. The CD's available now, and he's got it for $5. What are you waiting for, clown? Go order it now. And the vinyl. When are you thinking that might be available?
Well, like I said on my latest update, everything is back at Train Records because I had to sign all the album covers, I had to put in all the posters and the download cards. So that's all done. It's back at Train Records. Now it's a matter of them just waiting to get the vinyls, like the vinyl done, right? Pressed. And then they shrink wrap it and they send it all back to me. And then it starts going out to the fine supporters of Projekt Gemineye.
Sweet.
So we're hoping that it'll be maybe the first week of April. I should get them by that time. So not much more of a wait for the next Projekt Gemineye vinyl to come out.
I love the fact, Mark, that you've been committed to vinyl. I know it's hard for a small artist to make ends meet, to actually turn a profit on that particular format in 2025. The fact that you've remained committed to it shows that a small artist in a niche genre like prog rock, it is possible, but you have to commit yourself to it, and the people will find you, right? You'll find your clown in South Korea that wants 4 copies of everything. There's people out there. There is a market for it. You just got to commit to it, and it's almost like putting your faith in something bigger than yourself, because it's a huge outlay financially, and I respect your commitment to it. Every album has been released on vinyl. That's awesome, man. Not a lot of bands can say that.
Yeah,
I get on a lot of bands. It's like, why no vinyl? And it's always the same answer. It's it's the finances of it, man. And I get it. But
see, the thing is, for me, I've always approached it this way. I always do a pre-order, and I'm lucky enough that my supporters trust me enough that they're willing to drop the money for the record ahead of time.
That helps, right?
But that helps, because then out of all my records, only the first one, because I didn't have any real supporters at that time, I had to take out of my own pocket. But every record subsequent after that first record, the pre-orders have covered my costs for my
that's awesome. That's awesome.
So that helps a lot,
That helps a lot, man.
If you have a fan base, sorry, Scott, but if you have a fan base, you can do it. Marillion were the ones who started this whole idea of the whole fan funding thing.
I wish they would have done it earlier, because they were kowtowing to EMI and what EMI wanted for far too long. As soon as they cut those, those apron strings, they were able to actually become a great band again. You don't want some guy in a suit telling you how to do your music. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
that's ridiculous.
So I'm very happy with that. And the records turned out really well. I've always, any kind of profit I've ever made, and I want to make this clear, I use it to upgrade equipment, get some better microphones. I've got myself a slightly better console now. I have an SSL, sound interface here, which is great, fantastic. So it only improving the quality of the sounds that I get.
Yeah.
Therefore, making a better record. And my mixing skills and mastering skills always improve. Just like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Right. So everything is going up. And just to let you know as well, I have another 2 records done already in the can.
What?
So there will be more music coming this year. I have another record done. It's already mastered, everything, just waiting for James to give me the artwork for it. And then I have another record that's going to be coming out next year, right? That's already done as well. So I'm not just, dilly-dallying. I'm always writing at home and working on stuff.
Sounds like it. Busy man. And you couldn't even keep track of how many albums you have out. That's when you know it's going good. When you let me take my shoes and socks off and count how many records I got out. But the 4 that I've heard, I love. I can't wait to hear the new album. I love it when we get all thematic and stuff, and even if it's not a concept album per se, I love it when there's like a overarching theme, kind of keep everything wrapped up, and everything's been great so far. Canada, Stories and Legends, out now. The CD's available. The link is in the video description. He's selling this thing for $5 people. You're not going to get better prog rock for that kind of value. The vinyl will be out hopefully first week of April. We'll keep in touch. Make sure our peoples know when that's available, because my people love vinyl, because they're like me, they love the vinyl. But so what else is going on besides the never-ending quest to write the perfect song?
Well, obviously, I also do a couple of podcasts. I do the Yes Music podcast with Kevin Mulrine, and I also do the Kiss FAQ podcast as well. So those keep me busy as well. Also, I do the Dark Monarchy, which is another band that I do with Joe Bailey. We're going to be due sometime in the summer to start working on our 5th record in that area as well. So I love writing songs. I mean, for a long time I was a touring musician, doing a lot of stuff like that, constantly playing. So now I've kind of committed to the more recording end of stuff, and I really enjoy it. I love recording, putting out stuff, and and running the label also is a full-time thing, contacting people, doing interviews, making sure that the artwork is all good, and there's a million things you could do. I've always said to my friends or young people who have asked me that are starting their own bands and labels, what's some good tips?
What are some good tips?
Well, some good tips are number one, if you're saying that you're bored, if you ever say that you're bored, then you're obviously not doing something that you could be doing with that time. Because I don't think that I've ever said that I've been bored for the last 15 years, because I have always something to do.
Yeah.
Make sure, that you write music that you love. That's the most important tip I can give anybody. Don't write with that mind frame of what's somebody going to like. Write what you like. Okay. And then others will like it as well. I'm pretty
That's
sure
right.
that.
Don't listen to that A&R guy when he comes into the studio and says, I want to listen to some raw tracks. That's not a hit. I need a hit. Don't listen to that guy. It's better to get fired from that label and do your own thing than to suffer under the auspices of the man in the three-piece suit, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the thing is the internet is your friend. Make a Facebook page, make an Instagram page, get a Bandcamp. Like, those things have been immensely helpful.
Yeah.
Because all those things offer a ways to contact people, to keep people in the loop. And for one thing I've learned that's 100% true, I think, is that people enjoy, the idea that they're important, in that sense that, that when something comes out, I'm addressing people directly on these videos,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it's meant to be. I'm talking to you saying, listen, here's what's coming up, next couple of weeks I'm going to be doing this and that. And people like being kept in the loop. $30 may not seem like a lot of money to some people, but you can buy you can buy some groceries, you can get gas for the car for that money.
Absolutely.
Now, that the fact that you're giving me that money for my record, I take that that's very important to me. So I want to make sure you know what's going on with the record, and every step of the way I try to keep people informed on it. And I think that's extremely, extremely important. I think that
absolutely. And you know what, Mark, that's why I'm not going out of my way to interview the John Andersons and the Rick Wakemans of the world. They don't need my help, right? They can do just fine promoting their little records without little old me. But, when I hear about an artist such as yourself that's actually, making a difference, connecting with people, creating an actual community. You're not just like a dude making music. You've actually built a community, and that's really, really astounding. And it gives, I think, newer artists maybe something to point to. Have a point of view, have a personality, and actually get out and shake hands and kiss babies. Because, Steven Wilson doesn't give two shits if you bought his new record or not. He doesn't care. I'm telling you right now. Trust me when I tell you, he does not care. Mark Anthony might care a little bit if you buy the new Projekt Gemineye record. And I think there's a difference there. And I think people like that. They like that personal touch.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I think that people, like I said before, I think people appreciate that. So I definitely think that that's the most important tip I can give out of all the stuff we talked about, is that keep in contact with your fan base.
Yeah.
Make sure that they know what's going on, and respond. That's the other thing too. I know so many people that have said, I wish that I had more people in my group or whatever.
Sure.
Respond. I answer to 95% of the people that have messaged me. I've responded to them, and it takes time. You got to keep that in mind. You need to put aside time to do this. If you want it to go somewhere, you need to commit time to do it.
Yeah. That is true. I mean, you don't have a whole army of, promotions people behind you. You're a one-man show, so you got to wear a lot of different hats. And, it's much like having a YouTube channel where you can't just put the video up and expect that to be that. You have to make sure you're connecting with the people, responding to comments, try to create, a community. And I feel the same way, like, when people send me money and stuff, it's like, it's kind of weird, right? But I do feel it's important that the money that I make from ads and memberships and stuff like that, I turn around and buy new equipment, new lights and cameras and mics and stuff to try to, make the channel a little bit better. I think it's the only way. Otherwise, people are going to look at you and say, you're just a greedy schmuck. You're only in it for the money. Which, of course, if they know me, they know it's absolutely true. I am a greedy schmuck. I am only in it for the money. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. It just so happens that I love the prog rock, so I can actually kill two birds with one stone. It's a beautiful thing. Mark, Anthony K is my guest in the Prog Corner today. This has been awesome. Projekt Gemineye has given me hours and hours of enjoyment, man. I really appreciate you sending me these CDs. I've really, really enjoyed them. And I've enjoyed your friendship. And I was, like I said, worried that you were mad at me because you haven't been on the Sunday show for a while.
No, I'll come back to do it for sure. But to be honest, Sundays have become one of those days that become tricky sometimes during the day.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of things that come up, and a lot of the other interviews. I would never have thought that Sundays were popular to doing interviews, to be quite honest. But it's picked up over the years that Sundays have become pretty popular for doing interviews, at least for stuff that I've done. So
for sure, I don't know why either. But anyway, man, this is great. I mean, we could have brought you on a Sunday show, but then you'd have all those other knuckleheads, trying to get FaceTime, trying to be all controversial, trying to take Mark Anthony's place as far as the guy with the hot takes on the Prog Corner. Mark, an absolute pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this new album. I can't wait to get it and put it in the car. And I know about those people that want to buy like multiple copies. I'm the guy that oftentimes will buy the CD for my car and the vinyl just to stick behind me in the background, So I get it, man. Projekt Gemineye, brand new album is out. It's called Canada Stories and Legends. I haven't heard it yet, so I'm not going to be Mr. Fako guy and tell you how great it is, but I will tell you that the rest of the discography is really, really great. Mark, thank you so much. Thanks for spending a little time with us. We went a little longer than I thought. We talked about maybe a half an hour, but, I don't care. We had a lot to talk about. You've got a great discography. I love show and tell anyway. I love seeing vinyl. I don't care. I could sit here for hours and watch people pull out vinyl, showing me the different colorways and whatnot. It's maybe I'm the only one that enjoyed this episode. We'll see. But anyway, boys and girls, my thanks to Mark Anthony K of Projekt Gemineye, a true gentleman, absolutely a stellar dude, and you know what we're going to say next, right? It's time for the outro. I love you guys. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet. Free the Ukraine. Free your mind. Free beer. Free William. God save King Chucky. Oh, boy. Save King Chucky the Third. That boy could use some saving right now. Bring that boy to America. Make him swim. Oh, it's a long swim all the way to America, but he can make it. Maybe he can stop in Bermuda on the way. I don't know. That's British territory, but he's gonna come to America and talk to Donald J. Trump like a couple of kings, and they're gonna dance with snakes. Oh no, Mark! Look out! The snakes are going crazy. They're Canadian snakes. Oh, look out! Oh, he got me! Oh no, Mark! It's all over for me. I'll see you fools tomorrow. Peace.